welcome to the interview with Urban Sex Legends. We are going to start off with an easy question. Give us your name, the instrument you play, and how long you have been with the band.
I'm Brady. I play guitar. I've been with the band since day one.
And I'm Nick. I play drums. I've been with the band since day one, which we were just discussing. We trace back down to 1994, when we were both 14 years old, and we came across a bulletin board system on the internet that was Urban Sex Legends, and it was just a list, old school bulletin board of various urban sex legends, and we said that's an awesome name for a band, and we latched onto it, and we've done a lot of other projects since, but we've also kept that name going as a punk rock band sort of name.
All right. Well, you mentioned how the name was found. How did the band itself get started?
We've known each other since kindergarten, and right around 13, we wanted to play music, and our parents were all very supportive. It's awesome as a drummer to have supportive parents. Put up with your playing all the time, and with your friends coming over and playing, and yeah, the supportive parents helped a lot. But yeah, we were 13, 14 when we wanted to start a band. We had a few names for it before we came across Urban Sex Legends, but
I think we really didn't start like the flyer art and stuff until Urban Sex Legends was in the picture.
That's true.
And
Well,
it got the visual kind of.
and the visual's an important part, using that name and kind of trying to play around with visuals is also something we've always loved to do, rock and roll art, poster art, art in various incarnations that also goes along with the band, I think, yeah.
Performance art?
Performance art, we haven't done as much performance
Almost
art.
none.
No,
It's just a
but
kind of
we've
art.
done some.
Some.
Yeah, lots of stuff. We had a few like bands that were imaginary more than real, leading up to that. Hot Diggity Dogs. We had a song, Hot Diggity Dog Strut. That was way back in the day. It was Stray Cat Strut, but with lyrics about a dog instead of a cat. So pretty punk rock, I'd say. You remember any of our other names before Urban Sex Legends?
I mean, not off the top of my head. There were a few, but, I think we stuck with the best one.
I think we did. Repus. Repus was a name that your mother particularly liked. We tried to explain it was super backwards, but I think it sounded a little too much like that Rape Me song by that Nirvana band. Rape us. She didn't want us saying that maybe to people out in the world, to 14-year-old boys, which I can see now. But at the time it felt like a great name. Super backwards.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Now, did you find that being very young made it hard to find gigs?
Well, the very first incarnation of Urban Sex Legends involved a third member, Tommy Larson, who was an adult, and he later, after we got in the band, or he got in our band, really, because we put the poster up at the music store. He became a dare officer at the middle school. So maybe that was the most punk rock thing you could do as a 13-year-old in middle school, is be in a band with a dare officer, but it sure didn't seem like it. But we did play gigs because of it. He did line up gigs at various places in the town in Idaho where we grew up. And so we did play out, but there was a bit of a conflict between our vision of the band and his vision of the band, and I hope he's doing well now.
Now that we've called him out by name on YouTube.
I'm sure there's plenty of TLs out there in the world. Love him. Great guy. Hope he's doing well. But yeah,
Hope he's still playing. I hope
I hope he's still playing. Yeah, yeah. He was a surprisingly energetic guy.
He taught me everything I know about palm muting. I didn't know what
Palm
palm muting
muting.
was.
Palm muting
Changes
is
the
huge.
whole. It's a whole new template.
Yeah, and Braid was on bass at that time, but we still had a pretty stern vision of the band that I don't think he jibed with as much at the time. I think he was uncomfortable enough probably being in a band with two 14-year-olds, comfortable enough, and then when we wanted to call it Urban Sex Legends, I think he never did actually accept that name. I don't think we ever said that's what we were publicly. Maybe we did.
I've got it on a poster. I've still got the
Oh,
poster
we did.
somewhere.
So we did. We proclaimed that. He didn't have any choice in the matter.
You got to stand up for what you believe in.
You got to stand up. Yeah.
So you mentioned you found him through posting a flyer at a local music shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way it used to be done.
That's the way you used to do things. And we used to like you'd get your equipment out of that musician's friend catalog that was just like a catalog of used equipment. And yeah, you'd post a thing at a record store and people would call your house and your mom or dad would answer and they'd definitely test people out and filter them before they actually let them come over to the house to play with us.
I remember leaving a flyer at Second Avenue Records for exactly that purpose back in, oh God, who knows, 2000, something along those lines.
It's crazy.
So give us a little insight into your songwriting process. What's the usual steps that go into creating a song for you?
I think we're still looking for always looking for the next formula to make the songwriting.
The golden goose.
Yeah.
We have a few different ways we approach it. A lot of times Brady writes the songs and brings them to us pretty much fully formed. Sometimes it'll be almost like we have to challenge ourselves, like let's write a song today, or let's write a song about earwax today, or usually not earwax. That just is what came to my head. But let's write a song with this type of groove, or let's write a song based on this funny phrase I thought of at work. And sometimes we'll write it and it'll be a song, and sometimes it won't. But we kind of force ourselves to just keep putting stuff out there and trying.
I'm pretty big into this idea of just using two chords throughout the whole song, because each combination of two chords has a totally different feel, totally different kind of texture to it. And no matter how many times you use like a E minor G, you always get something different out of it. Seems like an easy way to go. Takes a lot of the hurdles out of the way if got a 50% chance of being on the right chord.
So describe for us your style of music.
Our style is pretty eclectic, but it basically comes down to like garage rock, punk rock. What do you say, Braden?
Well, I think a lot of times people use the word punk to mean not quite ready for prime time. So it covers a lot of genres. You can have your punk jazz and your punk blues and your punk whatnot. So I think we embody that spirit of punk, of just trying anything to a 3-star level of quality.
The exuberance of creativity overtaking the need to hit a qualitative mark.
I like that.
Something like that. Yeah. We recently went through a phase, and bands have lives and are an organism unto themselves. And our band recently went through a phase of we're just going to learn all outlaw country and trucking songs, and I think that's a pretty cool phase. But what happened with it is we barreled down and tried to learn a bunch, and then it filtered in a little bit into our playing, and we probably got 3 good new covers out of it. But we're not fully an outlaw country band right now. And
Well, you can never go too far wrong covering a David Allan Coe song.
exactly,
So,
David Allan Coe, or we covered some. We tried to cover. We absorbed, we absorbed Eastbound and Down, and we absorbed a little bit of what else did we?
Still got it, man. I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready too. Yeah, and our bass man Dan is also a trucker fan, and
He's a trucker.
he's a
Full
trucker
stop.
now. Yeah. So I think there was a little bit of magic that worked in us approaching the trucker music, and he was looking for a job at the time, and now he drives lumber, and there you go. Maybe there's a little bit of the power of magical punk rock thinking. Maybe it's just sheer coincidence. It's a magical world.
His life is a song.
Life is a song.
now you mentioned having gotten your start in Idaho. When did you move to the Portland area?
You moved in 2004?
2005.
You moved in 2005, and I moved later in 2005. Yeah. And, yeah, my car died right as I pulled up to the place I was hoping to get a room. And luckily they allowed me to prorate that rent that month and keep paying and live there. So my Saab died, and our first practice we hauled the gear on the TriMet, from up to the place no longer exists. We called it the Powell Butte Rock House, and it was where now there's a access parking lot to the Powell Butte hiking up on, by 146th.
Right.
That's where the house was, and it was a pretty cool Portland band house, 3 stories, basement. Almost everybody that lived there was a musician, and the other guy that lived there didn't mind loud music anytime. So
That's
it was
good.
a pretty cool place. Yeah, you were working at Starbucks at that point. Had you gotten that Starbucks job? I mean,
I don't know.
he was working at a nameless coffee place. We can beep that if we want to. You don't know? Okay.
Probably.
He probably was. And then and that's when we moved to Portland. We've been back
Good
to
story.
Idaho.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. You can go. You can take some story too. You take it from here, Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've gotten to see the ups and downs in the Portland music scene.
Oh, yeah.
Venues disappearing,
All
like
the
when
time.
Satyricon went in 2010. That was a
Ash
big
Street
blow.
Was a big.
Ash Street.
I heard you talking with
Breach.
The Breach, yeah, about
Yeah.
Ash Street, yeah. We loved that place, and still remember the first time we played there, just being nervous and a little bit scared by Heather. And
That was
That's a common thing.
It was a big deal.
And now I still Heather will back me up on internet arguments and stuff. Now that she's
Somebody's got to.
yeah, somebody's got to. Here's to Heather Sound Girl. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Ash Street was an
Barrett.
amazing place. They always treated us so
such
well.
good support for music
Mhm.
and music eight nights a week. How could you go wrong? But yeah, and Ash Street and the Tonic, we got to play there when they had their original sign,
Yeah,
which is a great place to play.
and they just recently closed forever.
I know, and they got rid of the sign, and then they changed it to that other, what was it called?
Panic Room.
Panic Room, that's right.
They got involved with a
Interesting
bar rescue
times,
reality
yes,
show. and,
Yeah. that
turned
was
out to be a
interesting.
disaster. It was the worst thing that ever happened to them.
I know, terrible. That guy on that show seems like a con man. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What do you expect from reality TV show hosts?
What about Joe Rogan?
Okay, he's not as much of a con man, I'd say. I mean, if he wants us on his show, we'd go.
Can I skip that one? Can Dan do that one?
No, I'll go alone. I'll do Joe Rogan alone.
Okay.
I'll smoke him under the table.
There hasn't really been a venue that has been able to fill the void left by first Satyricon and then the Ash Street. Twilight is an amazing place, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but they just don't have the capacity, for one,
Right.
that Ash Street offered, and being in the central east side
Central,
instead of
yeah.
downtown also kind of makes things a little more complicated for them. Still, though, they put on an amazing number of
They
shows.
do a
great
good job.
Yeah, we've played there a few times, and yeah, they do a great job. And their stage has kept improving, and this stage quality too.
Oh, yeah.
Sound quality there is just always improving.
It's kind of a running joke there, waiting to see somebody take a header off that stage, though.
Ugh.
I've seen Tony from Chartbusters
That is a-
fall off that
That
stage
is a
when he was
tall
drunk.
stage.
Yeah, busted his head open pretty good.
That's no good.
So, on the topic of gigs, give us a memorable moment from an Urban Sex Legends gig, something crazy that happened.
Something crazy at a gig.
There was some guy while I was we're on stage, and I think I was in a different. I was wearing a different hat then in terms of my feeling about the world and my confrontation with people. And somebody walked up to my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and was like, really like kind of up in her personal space, and I took that as the opportunity to sort of start monologuing at this guy, like mid-song, and said not nice things about him. And then later, I was informed that he was just a big fan of the band and was trying to communicate what a great band this was.
Open mouth, insert foot.
But I think in sort of that, that kind of like Danzig, Henry Rollins kind of way where you antagonize your fans and then they love you even more, I think it may have had that kind of a quality to it.
All right.
Yeah.
So, if you had the opportunity to play with or open for any one band or musician, active or retired, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Wow. That's a broad. You take it, Raid.
I want to be like there with Tiny Tim when he dies on stage, in that moment. That giant man and that tiny ukulele just crumbling to the ground.
I think Elvin Jones died on stage too. I think I remember hearing that. Tiny Tim, though. Wow.
Not the easiest question in the world, is it?
I think just for sheer like punk rock history, I'd have to say the Ramones. Except it's hard to share a stage with the Ramones. Who wants to do that? You get your ass blown off stage.
Yeah.
I always
yeah.
get my ass blown off stage. But what happens off stage stays off stage.
But yeah, the Ramones.
I've thought about this question. Actually, when I discovered this podcast, I've been thinking about this question. I think it would be cool to go back to just some of those weird bands you saw at house parties or different things you saw as a kid at punk shows, and just with your older ears listen to the things that sounded so crazy. Just simple things like two-part harmony used to just blow me away when bands would do that. Or, like a halftime break in the middle of a song just sounded like crazy magic. And I don't know if I went back and listened to that, if it, you can see the wires now and it's not impressive, or if it still has that magic to it.
Now, have you toured as a band at all?
Washington, we've
yeah.
done the little circuits.
Hey, that's out of state.
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah, exactly. We're working on it. Not
I'm never
literally
working.
We're not literally working on it.
If it happens by accident, that's fine.
No, we should play some out of town shows. We're working on our new record album at the moment, so we haven't really been focusing on booking shows, but I think there might be a good house show opportunity coming up, Braid, and I'll tell you more about it. It's supposed to be a little bit of a surprise.
Mystery out of townhouse.
No, mystery in townhouse.
Oh.
In a townhouse, we'll actually be
It's a
playing
true story, yeah.
in a townhouse.
Love it.
Yeah.
There
rocking
is
the
something
townhouse.
about house shows that are just so much fun.
Yeah.
I can remember some really, really good ones when I was younger. It's just
And-
nothing quite like it.
And kudos to the people that put them on, whether it's the bands themselves or people that just want a bunch of people in their house being loud and raucous. And I know when we put on house shows at that PBR house, we had a few things broken more than once. We had some fights. Yeah, yeah. Because you get the roommate tension as well as the house show tension, and sometimes not everybody agreed that there'd be a house show that night, and things happen. Yeah. But they're great. Kudos to put them on.
All right. So, with such a lengthy history as a band, how many actual releases do you have?
5? I think we're on 5. I think it's 5.
It's all DIY. do it
5
yourself.
plus a live album plus a compilation album.
Right. Plus a bunch of stuff on the internet, a bunch of art. Brady did a cartoon in 2010 based on our lineup at that time. We've been working on a rock opera graphic novel, which is on Vimeo, Satan Oscillate, Metallic Sonatas. We've been working on that. I've been working on the art for the music we recorded in 2010 or 11 since then. And I'm on the fifth of 6 songs now. Once I get done with that 6th song, I'm not sure what's going to happen to it after that. I'd love to have like a comic book that I published, but...
That sounds like something the crew over at Volume Bomb Records would be interested in.
Volume Bomb, awesome.
Yeah.
Check them out.
Yeah, they recently, well, they're the ones that put on the Portland, Not Portlandia
Yeah.
event. That is just an amazing idea. Multiple venues that are right next door to
pretty
each
cool.
other, 40 bands over the course of the
Right.
evening. The first one up on around 60th and Foster 4 years ago, they ended up putting a sign in the middle of Foster that said caution drunk crossing.
Oh.
Two venues on either side of the street, and people are trying to run back and forth and catch their favorite band. It
Right.
got pretty hairy,
Yeah.
and recording that was not the most fun thing I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
So, running gear across the street trying to catch that next band.
Next band.
Yeah,
Do you record a lot of shows? And
I do. I try to catch as many as possible. Focus mainly on local bands, especially bands that don't have label support.
Right.
Every now and then we'll get some touring bands. We've had a few big names like Conflict, for example, we recorded a couple of years ago. But we try and stick with the local stuff, 'cause that's really where it's at for us.
Cool. It's great to have support for local bands. So
Now, on the topic of art, I've seen a couple of bands lately putting out printed artwork, or as you mentioned, a comic with their bands. Is that sort of a new thing that you're seeing a trend of, or?
I've seen a lot of it, and one of our friends, Jack, is a cartoonist who has a band of seagulls, not a flock, a band of seagulls that have their own comic books and comic strip and albums, record albums. It's really awesome. Jack Kent, Gulls. I've been having the idea but not really following through with it at the moment yet of trying to put on some sort of rock Comic-Con that is in the Portland area. It's for bands that also have comics attached to them, but also maybe try and get some of the comic stores that have, the Kiss comics or the Grateful Dead comics or that kind of thing. Rock and roll.
Yes.
There was rock and roll comics or grunge comics, a bunch of different comics like that. I think it would be a cool thing to do and maybe help get the word out about the work I put into
And
Satan
with the
Oscillate.
possible exception of flyers, there really isn't enough merging between musical art and printed graphic art,
Yeah.
and I think there needs to be.
Definitely. And it's cool. It's cool to just work with and work in.
And that was one of the best things about buying vinyl back in the day is the album art, the lyric sheets and all that. You'd look forward to that as much for the art as for the actual album.
Yeah, it's an experience.
It's something that online music just cannot match.
Right, exactly.
Now, on the topic of art, we're going to go ahead and take a look at one of your videos. This is for a song called Devil Pants. Now, when did this come out?
I want to say, what do you think? Devil Pants?
I believe you came up to visit me
Yeah.
before you lived here. No,
no.
maybe you
it
were
was-
out of the
It was
country
when
for
I
some
was
reason.
building the house with my dad.
Oh, you were out of state.
Right?
Okay, you're
Yeah.
out of state.
So it-
Came in for the weekend to visit. Stayed at my house, and we're like, let's record some tunes and then just make some one-off music
yeah,
videos.
Let's just do it. Do it in a day type thing.
Apropos to nothing, not part of any album.
I don't know where the phrase Devil Pants came from, but I think the whole song kind of just took off from there. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Not sure if you're going to be able to hear it, but
That's fine.
talk us through it.
I can hear it in here.
So yeah, that's Brady's apartment back in the day.
That's above the waypost.
Above
You know where the waypost is?
And
just like every other morning, I had a choice of pants.
And I do a pretty good diagram.
Those are my college textbooks. PSU, go Vikings.
These are the actual
Pants, my devil pants. I'm gonna do my villain dance, my fire dance, my evil dance.
This was we're messing with some pretty high technology here.
That Windows Movie Maker. I don't know if you remember that thing, but it could do some stuff.
Sweets, release.
Dance moves.
I'll introduce you to my funk beast.
So, I like the Devil Pants guitar.
Fear spasm.
It's the same hoodie. The same hoodie I'm wearing right now.
Same beard.
Same beard. Well, probably a new beard. Yeah.
We stole a bunch of footage from the internet. That's a good DIY by
The sexual scene is pervert.
It's a good technique.
Devil pants and a clean shirt. Anything this sweet dessert.
I just recently got I got my third neck repair on that guitar. Yeah. So that's.
Yeah, don't know this girl. Stole her from the internet. That is stolen out.
The maid from Dragon, backhorn, the trickhorn, the love of a Christian,
I think
midget, the tricorn.
like probably the best channel.
Then make my eyes look like the face of God.
Not like
You know you gotta taste this kind.
portrait drawing.
I'm a sensual sailor's perv. I got devil pants and a clean shirt.
What's the tricorn saying? What's his?
It's saying motherfucking tricorn, bitches.
Can we swear on the show? Apparently.
Apparently so.
Okay.
Seem to have managed
I'm
it
just
without
quoting
problem.
the tricorn. I think that has our most amount of hits on the internet, though, that particular track. And I don't know why. Or that particular video. I think it's the hyena dancing around in the carcass, the animal carcass. I think
One of my
that's
favorite
why.
parts.
I think that was brilliant, finding that on the internet and then stealing it. Good job, us.
All right. And what are some of your musical influences? What got you going when you were younger?
When we were younger.
I think what got me going? I think as soon as I figured out Smoke on the Water on the bass, just playing like way up high on the neck. Slightly before I discovered Motorhead, but it had a very Motorhead-like sound through a tiny PV amp, cranked up as loud as it would go. Yeah, and then it's pretty much from there. Ain't no stopping us.
Yeah. Gloria. That might have been the very first song we ever learned to play together. It was Gloria. But then, like, I think hitting puberty right at the same time that Nirvana hit and Pearl Jam hit a little bit later, Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was an awesome way to, like, music is awesome! And then you check out their influences and really dig into their influences. So, like, the Chili Peppers sent me down funk punk to the Minutemen and to Fear and to the funk, all the great funk music that's so good. And then, like, I also got sent down the path of Tom Waits at some point at that age too, where it's like somehow I ended up with a Tom Waits album and had a stolen bottle of wine, and my parents were out of town, and that's a very strong memory of just like listening to Tom Waits, being drunk on wine. I'm 17 or 18, and I feel like the world's full of beautiful sadness, and I'm a wise soul, and I was 17, right? But that red wine and Tom Waits, that was a pretty...
Well, and it came through in Devil Pants. I think you can get that.
voice.
Yeah, mostly the voice is what it is.
That voice is great.
Yeah.
Just gravel up your voice, then you're singing, right?
Done.
Tom Waits punk rock. Oh, yeah.
So all of your albums have been self-released?
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
DIY.
Yeah, these days a lot of people are going that path, just foregoing record labels entirely. A lot of bands that I speak to, really the only use they have for major labels is tour support, helping
Right.
them book tours. And even there, if you know the right people and join the right Facebook groups, it's not too hard to book a pretty good sized tour. If you had an opportunity for one, if there was a local band that was heading out for a couple of months, do you think you'd join along, or does real life get in the way?
Real life does, in fact, get in the way quite a bit, but you know, if we had enough lead-in time, we talk to our jobs and stuff. I don't know. I think we could make it happen if it was a good opportunity. You know.
I would probably send one of those holographic versions of myself on tour, but no one would be able to tell the difference.
How often do you guys play out?
It's been once every couple months lately. Back 3-4 years ago, we were playing pretty steadily, like twice a month. And then, and then life happened a little bit. Brady moved to Idaho for a little bit, got married, and then he decided to leave Idaho and come back here. And that happened about a year ago. And so we've been sharpening up our chops again and trying to write new material. And we've played out a good handful of times since you got back. I don't know if that's necessarily our main focus, but maybe once we get the album done, we'll want to get it out there, get it out in front of people.
So as far as other local talent, who are some bands that you like to play with?
There's a lot. We've just played, funnily enough, with a band, Ish, ISCH, that had two members of a band we had played with 4 or 5 years ago, Noise Complaint, in it now. Those guys are real fun. We've played with Trick Sensei, which is a big ball of energy, and they're super fun. They're almost like sonic youth waves of music where it's, I think there's like theremin going on, and then they have different keyboards and stuff, and it's like, but it still has a very up punk energy. The drummer keeps it going, and they put this cool ball of energy forth. We played with the Latter-day Skanks a while back. That was a few years ago. That was a good show. That was with God Bless America, the Latter-day Skanks, and Dwight Dickinson. And do you know Dwight?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So an ex-girlfriend of mine showed up, and she didn't understand that Dwight Dickinson was a character.
Oh, no.
So that particular show, she got very pissed off at Dwight
I
Dickinson.
can imagine if you don't get Dwight's
And
joke.
it was cracking us up. But yeah, that was a fun show. Fun bunch of people to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2016 version of Dwight Christmas at the Ash Street, that
Right.
one was a lot of fun too. Blow up animals flying through the air, penis helmet fights.
Penis helmet fights.
Very entertaining time.
Yeah. Dwight is quite a character.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to record a couple of versions of Dwight Church before it
great.
ended up folding.
Yeah, yeah.
Every now and then I ask him if he's bringing it back.
They were talking about bringing it back, but right, something about it at the Bit House, and I'm not sure what's going on there right now.
Well, it appears that the two Ash Street
Right,
expats that were working at the Bit House have since left. So
for their own reasons, and I'm sure their reasons are valid.
yeah, Yeah, I haven't spoken to all parties
knowing those
involved
guys.
on that.
Yeah,
but-
I don't want to speak out of school, but Barrett's always been super supportive. And
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything as punk rock as Barrett on a Tuesday night when he's trying to fill the bill, get up there and strap his bass on and sing and play bass. Just him, just Barrett singing and playing bass. That was pretty fun a few times there at Ash Street. Yeah, but
And he does a mean Bowie cover, too.
he does. Damn sexy in those pants.
So any other local bands that you either have played with or would like the opportunity to do so?
Decliners? No love for the Decliners? All right.
We're not allowed to play with the Decliners.
We're not allowed to.
We have been declined from being able to play with them unless it might be at a house show. That's allowed. Our bass player plays with the Decliners.
Ah, okay.
And there have been some rules set in place that he can't play with both bands on the same stage the same night. Unless, so this is the house show wiggle room. So we're trying, that might happen. But the Decliners are fucking fantastic. They're a tightly wound Swiss watch of a punk rock band.
I didn't know that was a rule, and now that I'm trying to think of a
Oh,
good
you-
way. What
you
if he
had-
doesn't know that he's playing with us? What if we were disguised
You hadn't heard that rule.
as the Decliners?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm just trying to like Wile E. Coyote my way into it.
Yeah. We can make it happen.
Okay.
We can dress up as ZZ Top and Dan can play drums.
Got it.
Because of the
Easily
beard
done. Sure, yeah.
situation. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, Decliners are great. I would love to play with Nasal Rod someday. They're fucking fantastic.
Well, any band that has the original drummer from Fear,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So I've started taking lessons from Tim.
Oh, really?
That's fucking amazing.
Oh, I bet.
That blows your mind. That guy the way he thinks about drums and like, so he aims for he calls the gray area, which is like when you feel uncomfortable learning something, that's where you're supposed to stay. And he has this mind that can just make up these drum parts that aim for your weak areas, and it's awesome. Also, like, just going and hanging out with Tim is great. He's such a positive guy, and yeah.
If you listen to some of the early Fear stuff, his playing is just
So
amazing. Unusual
insane.
time
Yeah.
signatures,
Yeah.
really good stuff.
Super cool. Other bands, Braid, one more band you'd like to play with?
I think are the Wipers possibility. Can we get those guys together?
Oh, we bring Greg Sage back up for
Yeah,
Phoenix.
maybe,
You know, it could
yeah.
happen. Who knows?
That'd be awesome.
So, are there any other bands that you as individuals play with?
Not at the moment, for me.
I've got some other stuff I do, but it's anonymous. The whole point of it is nobody knows.
It's kind of a rule in Portland that you've got to be in at least 2 or 3 bands.
Yeah.
It's there was a couple of bands that shared so many members that if they wanted to go on tour, they'd only
They'd
need
have
to
to
take
go
one
to
van. you
Tour
know.
together.
All right, so looks like we're about to wrap up our time, but anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Awesome. Thanks for listening. Please check out our stuff. We put out a lot of content. We have a pretty cool Instagram, and we got a bunch of videos on YouTube and Vimeo, and got a bunch of music out there. So, yeah, we love making shit. What do you say, Braid?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
he agrees.
All right, well, I want to thank you gentlemen very much for your time.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.